The challenge that we had is we had a lot of junior marketers who didn't really understand how to interpret the data point. And so what does that actually mean to their clients?
Live data is the evolution, and we're able to do that via talking to your live data environments, being able to look at hundreds of different metrics that are available inside of any data source all at once.
Welcome to Contrary to Popular Opinion, a podcast hosted by Fuse.is Digital. In each episode, we bring you provocative topics and novel perspectives around leadership, business, and marketing that defy the norms because exponential growth demands unconventional thinking and visionary action. So open your mind and let's get into this week's episode.
Hey everyone, Kelly McGuire with Fuse.is Digital. Excited to get into today's topic and talk to today's guests.
Hey, it's Todd. I am fresh off the plane from Germany. So I'm about a 9-hour time difference right now in my head. So hopefully that doesn't impact anything today. And so we've got Jeff and Jill from, I think the last time you were on the show, it was still Fusion. It wasn't Fuse.
Actually, it was Deck Fusion.
It was Deck Fusion still. So, all right. So we're a couple of iterations beyond that. And now we have landed on the final brand of Fuse. So I've got Jill, former ex-Googler, and Jeff, who's started a bunch of tech companies and exited, done a bunch of cool stuff. And we're going to talk about Fuse again today because it's evolved a lot since the last time we talked. So welcome, Jeff and Jill.
Thank you so much for having me back and for having us on your podcast today.
Yeah, you said that I wasn't allowed to be on the last one, so happy to be on this one finally.
You're allowed. So I've got some sort of hard-hitting technical product questions to go through today because I think that's where a lot of people's minds are at right now, including Kelly and I's mind about how we're going to be tackling and building products in our company that AI will be the underpinning sort of engine to. And just for clarity's sake, Jade is also an investor in Fuse. So we're big fans of the product, but we also are involved with the company. And so we're hoping it will continue to power what we're doing. So here's the first big question. And I think, Jeff, you're ready to swing a bat at this one. Dashboards, are they dead? Or are they still needed? And if so, how do these two products play together and how you guys see the future shaping up?
Yeah, are dashboards dead? No, I don't think dashboards are dead at all. They serve a purpose. I do think that with AI and with AI technology, there is an evolution, a major evolution of dashboards that is happening currently, hence our product and how we are evolving dashboards is probably the right way. That was said that type of thing, but it came out. But we're not attacking dashboards, and I don't think they're dead in any way. In fact, we have a form now and inside of our product that allows you to create a dashboard live. I think the problem with dashboards, I've been a marketer all my life, and I've always needed a data or tech team in order to do my job. And all the marketers that I've ever managed, I've managed some pretty big teams. They've always needed data and tech teams as well. And everybody uses dashboards, whether I'm assuming I'm allowed to just name products and all of that. So Google Looker, Power BI, Tableau, name your dashboard. There's so many of them out there. The problem with dashboards isn't the setup, the initial setup, although that is a problem because marketers typically aren't the ones that are setting up the data inside of a dashboard. It's the constant maintenance. It's the fact that the data that's being ingested inside of a dashboard just breaks all the time. It ingests via an ETL pipeline, and I call them a fragile ETL pipeline, and I think a lot of other people do too, because they break. And then whenever Google Analytics updates their data source, which Google Analytics, I feel like everybody knows that, like once a month, you get a GA4 update. The data that's being ingested, they change conversion metric to now it's key events. Now, all of a sudden, the data that's being ingested inside of your dashboard is inaccurate. So you need a data or tech team in order to actually use a dashboard constantly, which means the marketers that are using a dashboard just have to keep spending more and more money on data and tech teams in order to even read a dashboard, let alone tell stories around it. And I think that now with AI, it's just a much simpler way. And there's a much simpler solution. Does that answer your question, Todd?
Yeah, Kelly, and Jill, I don't know if you have anything to add to this, but Kelly, I'm curious about the struggles that we have, and we talk about all the time about answering the question, why? Why is a data point a data point? Why?
Yeah. I was actually going to touch on that point. On the agency side, before coming to start Fuse, the challenge that we had is we had a lot of junior marketers who didn't really understand how to interpret the data point. And so what does that actually mean to their clients? How do they translate that into action and intelligence behind what's going to move the needle for their business? It was a really big challenge in terms of how do we action on this data? So like, okay, cool, here's a dashboard, here's a trend, but like, what does it actually mean? That was a really big challenge that we were facing.
Yeah, I think that's the big evolution for me right now when we talk about dashboards and them not necessarily being dead, but being a bigger opportunity to make better use of them and the way that we approach them. So as you were talking, Jeff, I'm thinking about it's funny that you say the why in that talk, because I'm thinking about, well, why does someone want a dashboard historically, right? And it's a conduit for conveying information. And historically, it's only been as good as people's willingness to really dive in and use it. And that tends to be the roadblock in my experience. Is originally it's meant to be to make it easier to access the information, but they tend to get really complicated. And then there's a lot of turnover on things, and some people really like them, some people don't. And then they sort of always fall by the wayside a little bit in my experience, where it's just easier to ask your account manager or your team, like, hey, I want this piece of information. Can you give it to me? Versus like go in, log in, use the filter, find it myself. And that just, for whatever reason, the behavior goes in. And I say all that because the interesting thing that I think the AI element introduces, at least in my experience, is the dashboard, rather than being the end result of showing what you want someone to see, kind of becomes the conduit for exploration. And that's the thing for me, that AI has gotten so much better at allowing curious people who take the time and energy to use it right to explore things they wouldn't have otherwise explored. And so now, instead of it only being able to have pre-built charts and graphs that tell you the story that I want to tell you, it's a conduit for asking semantic questions of what's going on here, how are things trending over the last couple of months, and the ability to kind of mold the dashboard to visualize the output for that curiosity and that exploration. And if you think of it that way, a dashboard, again, just becomes that interface of, I know work is being done and money's being spent, and I know data is being produced that's going to tell me how it's performing, but now I want to interact and ask and explore and be curious. And now this dashboard gives me a way to answer each of my questions without having to read a paragraph and interpret it. And I think if we start to shift our thinking in that way, it becomes a much stronger conduit and opportunity than it used to be, which is, we're just, instead of you asking us a million questions, we're going to paste it up somewhere. You go log in and find it. And we hope you actually do that.
I love that. And I will say something that you said specifically, it's a conduit to display information. I think I want to just add a little bit to that. I think a little bit of a problem a huge problem with dashboards is that there's only a certain amount of data that can go inside of a dashboard. So it's actually a conduit to display the same information over and over again. So that means it's not actually telling you the full story, which needs to be evolved. That's a big problem with dashboards today, because whatever data metrics that you are putting inside of a dashboard is the data that you're looking at, and that's that. But we don't realize that there's hundreds of data metrics that you can actually put inside of a dashboard with any different data source, but you can't just put all of that inside of a dashboard. So how can you really tell that full story without all of the different data points that are actually necessary in order to tell it? So that's where we think that dashboards need to evolve, because just having a limited amount of metrics is just, it's not enough.
So that's an interesting point that you bring up there too, right? And I don't know the solution to this, because I feel like that's maybe another tripping point often for dashboards, which is striking the balance between simple enough to make it useful and understandable, but complicated enough to really tell you what you need to know. And so when you start to have multiple metrics that are dependent on each other and needing to do overlays or needing to be time-based comparisons of like, okay, I want to see what my cost per click is, but I want to see it in a year-over-year comparison, or I need to see it in the seasonality context to understand what I'm just being able to see. And so So what is the balance, right? You can layer on so many things that it just becomes a bunch of noise, but then you can dumb it down so much that it's not actually valuable. And so again, this is where adding in the AI component helps you not have to know the answers to plot that out properly, but allows you to explore. Like, I think looking at this in a bar chart and a time series will look good. And what might have taken you a day or more to build out, only to find out, well, I thought that would be the good way to look at it, but it's not very good anymore. Now the systems let you see it really quick and be like, okay, I don't like that. Maybe a line chart would be better, or maybe 2 time series would be better. And that ability to rapidly iterate and kind of test and experiment, I think becomes really powerful. And I think it will become a lot more enjoyable for your average end user than right now. It feels like a chore to have to go into a dashboard versus it's actually giving me sort of this guided experience to find what I really want to do without me having to know secret codes or remember certain drop-down menus or things like that. I think people just give up on in dashboards right now.
Yeah. And look, I worked at a number of different brands, and I've had my own brands. And as you mentioned, Todd, earlier, I had my last startup did pretty well and got it acquired in 2018. But after that, I went agency side. So I started learning how agencies work and ran campaigns for like Sony Pictures and Amazon Studios and Lionsgate. And I can't tell you how many brands, whether small or large, will always ask for the dashboard. They'll pay for the dashboard too.
It needs to exist. It is a checkbox on the list.
Exactly. And that's great. And they'll pay for it, which is even better, right? So that's great. But then they don't log into it. And they don't want anything but the analysis around it. So they are still necessary. They don't need to go away. They're not dead. They're still around. You still need that conduit to display the same information over and over again, because it's necessary to still display a certain amount of information in a dashboard. There just needs to be an evolution. And with AI, you can do that. With AI, there's context, for example, that represent company context or world context or any type of company context. Or when it comes to, we have a number of clients, for example, that put in like quarterly goals that they want to compare their live data environments to, so that it compares to that. Dashboard tools don't necessarily always represent that type of context. And the AI for BI tools, typically that's just kind of a chatbot on top of whatever data is visible on your chat or in your dashboard. So we just kind of look at things, and we believe that it's time for an evolution. So that's where Fuse comes in.
Okay, so I want to ask a question about our current state versus our future state. So with us in particular, our current state is we still have tech stack that uses an ETL tool that is feeding into Google BigQuery and all of our data. And so our experimentation with Fuse is that potentially is no longer needed, but that's what powers our dashboard.
Yeah.
So how do you sort of sit with both of these? Are we going to be in a state where we sit with both of these products? Like you said, there still might be a need for static dashboards and static sort of data layers or data views that are in a dashboard, but that's still built on an ETL and something like Snowflake or BigQuery, versus your system just sort of skips all of that, doesn't need it because it's piped right into the API feeds of Meta or Google or any of the ad channels that you guys will be adding to the platform. So I guess the question is that other stuff still needed? Are we going to be using that to fuel a dashboard, or does the live data side of things start to create its own dashboard?
It's exactly what it's already doing. And live data represents accuracy. The problem with ETLs, or the problem with even data lakes and query and all those tools, is that you can't fully verify and get 100% data accuracy when it comes to how the data is ingested and having to be updated all the time, whether, again, the data sources have to get updated or you change something in your own data accounts themselves. Then you have to go and update everything accordingly via these ETL data pipelines. So it really is all about live data is the evolution, and we're able to do that via talking to your native live data environments, being able to look at hundreds of different metrics that are available inside of any data source all at once, and the agents knowing exactly which metrics to pull regardless of the question that you ask, and having your full company context in order to answer your question accurately and quickly. So that's a little bit about how we look at things.
I have a challenge question for that then,
Please.
or this is what I think a counterpoint could be. So in our case, we use Funnel, great product, very widely known, widely used. And the idea that, that data isn't live, so it could be erroneous is an interesting statement because, for example, we have analysts who go in and structure mathematically through calculations, structure all that data in Funnel. It's stored in Google BigQuery. So it's, of course, human error is there. It does happen. But once it's built and the data structured, the mathematics in it work consistently. They don't typically break that often. So I'm moving from there into what you're saying, which is how AI works. But then the counterpoint to that is, what about AI hallucinations? And one of the things that Kelly sort of scrambles on about at times is the lack of mathematics and savviness within some of the LLMs. So if ETLs and data lakes are at risk for error, and most of that's going to be human error because it's humans doing a lot of the data entry and the data structure, and AI has the ability to take over, how do you then deal with the hallucination side and the anxiety and fear that a lot of marketers have today, that they don't trust it because it does hallucinate? And
I'll bring up a very specific example that just happened. I was just going through, and because I bring up this math, that AI is not good at math all the time. And a lot of people say, well, it's getting better and it's all these things. I literally had an incredibly complicated process that I was just going through, and I had to add up a table and an allocations list. And I got all the way to the end. And my best practice that I always go through is I will have it kind of check its own work, look for errors, redo all of it in there. And in the middle, I just casually kind of had to go back, check everything and go through it. And it just very casually came back of, oh yeah, my thing doesn't add up to 100%. It only added up to 90%. I lost 10% in the process. Yep. And rather than that being a catastrophic change, the whole thing and had to redo it, it treats it so casual of like, oh yeah, my bad. And let me just update it. And here's the new one. But it's like, if you don't have an entire team of people, if one person doesn't have that gut check, that verification element on it, it can take a hard left turn, and it's a butterfly effect where everything is wrong off of one thing in an iterative process. And the bigger and bigger you get that project, the more crazy it becomes on what it could become. So I don't know, that's just an example of like, I just saw that the other day of something as simple as it didn't add up to 100%. And I still can't even figure out how it could so casually drop such a significant number in a relatively straightforward ask.
Yeah, LLMs are notoriously terrible at math. So let me do one thing, and let me do one step at a time here when it comes to answering that whole thing. Because first thing I want to say is we talk to a lot of marketers and marketing teams a lot. And as we talk to them, it's almost every single time we talk to them, they'll end up saying two words. And before I tell you those two words, let me give you the context. We always ask, how confident are you in the data that's in your dashboard or even wherever you're looking at data currently in comparison to just your Google Analytics? When it comes to the 1-to-1 ratio, do you feel 100% confident that the data that's in your dashboard is 1-to-1 in comparison to Google Analytics? And they'll always say, no, not really, but the two words always are, it's good enough. Jill and I don't believe in good enough. And we don't believe that the good enough is enough. We believe in 100% data accuracy. So now let's talk about how we do that and how we prevent any type of hallucinations and how we represent 100% data accuracy. We've built what's called our proprietary semantic intelligence layer, which is just a fancy way of us internally of what we call our glossary. Our glossary is a ton of context that we have built inside of our product and trained inside of our models that represents thousands and thousands of marketing words, terms, alias words and terms to all of those, and then questions that marketers ask, thousands of follow-up questions to those questions, and then follow-up questions to those follow-up questions that marketers ask, and then calculations and computations that marketers ask every day that you are typically going to get a hallucination on with just any type of AI chatbot on top of the dashboard. The reason why is because they're not trained specifically like we've trained our models. You can ask things like, what's my CAC to LTV ratio? Great, it'll represent that answer. And then what's my CAC to LTV ratio now in comparison to last quarter? It'll represent that answer with full 100% accuracy. And what's beautiful about our product is then you can ask, how do I scale my business next quarter based off this information? And then it'll go and represent that too. We built our framework to represent the answers to three specific questions that every marketer asks. One being, what is my data actually saying? And the next is, so what? So what does this actually mean for my business? And then the third is, now what? Now what should I do next in order to scale? And regarding the conversation around the math and how LLMs are just notoriously terrible at math, that's why we built specific AI agent calculators to be able to do the math for you, and that it's incredibly good at math. So, but it's all about context, and that is AI. It's all about the contextual information and the training of the models that will make your product different. And we're proud to represent the differences between what Fuse is doing and what a tool that might have been vibe coded and has some type of ETL connection, like with Fivetran or something like that, just says, hey, we put a different data source every week inside of our product. Okay, I know what you're doing, type of thing. And can you really trust those types of tools? You can find out for yourself. And with us, you can. So if that was too aggressive, I apologize.
No.
I might have been a little too salesy on
passionate.
that one. Yeah, I'm very excited, and I know the market very well. So forgive me if it comes off a little too.
Our show is contrary to popular opinion, so we're supposed to be a little bit debatable here.
Okay, perfect.
I'm going to go out of order a little bit on my questions because you kept bringing up something in your last commentary about training the models. And one of the things that we as an agency, and I'm sure everybody is, because I read about it every day, trying to figure out is the use of training models with data and the privacy compliance around that. Mm-hmm. Fuse.is is a ISO 27001 certified company. So we've put a lot of time, energy, and effort into data security, data privacy, data compliance. And one of the things that I'm curious if you guys have sort of an updated opinion on or sort of perspective on is how is data training and LLM training and privacy compliance sort of meshing together in what you guys are seeing out there?
Have you guys seen the article about Mixpanel and their data breach with OpenAI?
I think I heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
You know why you haven't heard about it? Because they tried to hide it.
Yeah.
That's why. It came out the day before Thanksgiving. OpenAI it's like a one-pager release about Mixpanel's data that was leaked. Here, I have, of course, trying to be prepared here.
We'll put it in the show notes and people can read it.
What is clear is that companies like Mixpanel store huge banks of information about people and how they use their apps and are clearly becoming a focus for malicious hackers. Mixpanel certainly has all those certifications as well, probably more, over $1 billion organization. Now, the difference between what we're doing and what all these other tools are doing is we're talking to live data environments, and we're not saving your data in servers. So we remove a lot of those compliance hurdles. By not caching data or saving data in servers and talking to live data environments and having our agents talk directly to your live data environments, you don't have to worry about hackers coming in and stealing data because there's no data for them to steal. You're talking to live data environments every single time. That is a huge difference between us and others, and why not just small, medium businesses are flocking to our product, which we're super proud of, because so many of these AI for BI tools are all like enterprise only. Great. We want to be accessible for all, but enterprise brands are coming to us as well because those compliance hurdles and that red tape that they always have to go through, and the fact that Mixpanel got hacked just like that with OpenAI, they're now coming to us as well. We have some incredible clients that really love what we're doing, and that's one of the major reasons.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. I'm constantly trying to figure out how we're approaching that as a company because we sit on a lot of client advertising data. And in a way, we have to be able to use that data to train models to be able to get into decision tree logic, but there's risk to all of that. So the next thing I wanted to bring up was Google's recent announcement about their own ads advisor working with inside of, in this particular case, Google Ads environments. And so if that ad advisor if I have a director of search and she or he could just go in there and talk to the ad advisor about their real-time live Google Ads data, why do I need Fuse to do that?
because you're not getting the whole picture. You're only getting one view. And so that's the beauty of our product, is that you're getting that complete cross-channel visibility into what's going on. And that is something that Google or Meta or anybody else is not going to be able to provide you. So that's really that, plus our, as Jeff mentioned earlier, our intelligence, kind of our secret sauce programmed in intelligence. That's also something that Google doesn't have as well.
Isn't that interesting though, that like they would put all the time, energy, and effort to develop that? And your answer is the answer that I would give, which is, well, that's fine if you're just looking at a single channel in a silo.
Sure.
But
sure.
I mean, other than maybe the media person that's working in that channel, and maybe it's fine for that, but as a more macro level marketing intelligence platform, that's obviously not going to work because it isn't cross-channel. It's not multi-platform, multi-channel in that aspect. So I think it's interesting that they would do that, knowing that doesn't answer.
Yeah, if I may add to that, to what Jill said, because that's exactly right. But yeah, there's a reason why there's a Google Analytics one and there's a Google Ads one. It's not one combined, it's separate ones. So not to mention, you still have to log in and out. If you're an agency, you still have to log in and out of all those different Google Ads accounts or Google Analytics accounts and go from one to the next in order to even use that MCP that they've built inside of those tools. With us, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's all very safe and secure. It's all via workspaces. You go from one client folder to the next. You can work with all of them, all through our product in a safe, secure, and accurate way. And as Joe mentioned, what we call our glossary internally makes it so that you can talk to not just one data source at a time, but multiple, and they all know how to talk to each other, and they all know which metrics to pull, regardless of the question, no matter how complex it is that you ask. So if you ask about performance, it knows exactly which metrics it has to pull from all of your specific data sources that relate to performance, and will represent that answer for you accurately, and then represent the strategy in order to show you how to scale that up.
Yeah. I've got one last question for you both, and then I will want to move us into a rapid fire close. So this is not necessarily product related, but I think since the last time we spoke, there's been tremendous advancements with Fuse, not only from product development, but also on the pitch and financial side, the growth of the company and the people that have got involved. So as both of you being tech founders, what is one sort of major contrarian lesson that you've learned about being involved in an AI startup in a very crowded space? What would be one lesson?
We should both. We're going to give you two. So since we're being put on the spot, Jill, why don't you start and I'll finish if that's okay? Unless, do you want to give an answer first?
You go ahead. I'm still.
You got it. You got it. Don't be afraid to adjust. We were Deck Fusion first, because we believed that that last mile problem was a huge problem. And we wanted to take data with AI and create presentations for closing deals, creating audits, all of that. Pivoted. And we're so grateful that we pivoted. And the reason why we pivoted is because we had users come inside of our product, take a look at it. And you know what they always say? They were saying, wow, this is cool. That's not really the answer you want, because that makes it feel like you're just you're a novelty of a product. And that's not something that people really feel sticky or addicted to. And that's not the product that you really want. But what they did say is, what's really cool about this is the data that I'm able to connect. And I really want to dive further into the intelligence of this data. So that's when we broke apart our product, got rid of the deck side, thankfully, because there's Gammas of the world who are killing it. OpenAI, their update today of GPT 5.2. It's really just about take a whole bunch of data and create presentations visually, just so much more beautiful now. It was a great move. We did that in March. It was a hard pivot, but it was a necessary pivot. And in startups, you better pivot fast, because otherwise technology these days is just going to take over. So that's my advice. Pivot fast. Don't worry about what's happening today. Try and consider where the future is heading with technology. And that's what you should be building.
Yeah, and I agree with all of that. And I would say also, I know you guys believe in this philosophy, but just test and learn. I mean, as marketers, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, roll up your sleeves, test new products like Fuse. There's a lot out there and it can be a little overwhelming, but just pick something to start with, test, and just keep learning. There's so much to learn in marketing. It's an incredibly exciting time to be in marketing right now. It's a lot of change, but yeah, just having that test and learn mindset, I think, is good to have.
We would agree. We like to get our clients to be brave enough to let us test and learn. Kelly always says a test cannot be a test if it cannot fail, which some tests fail.
You guys have been with us from the beginning and you've seen plenty of failures. So also, I would say don't be afraid to fail.
I have to go find another deck building solution since you don't do that anymore, which was our initial interest in your product and why we got excited by it. But there's everything now to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Rapid fire, one word answers from each of you. So I'll say the question, but I need a one word answer from each of you and I'll give you a choice. You just have to spit it out. Jill, how about we do this? Jill, you go first on each one of these. Jeff, you follow second. So first one is dashboards, obsolete or essential?
Essential.
Let's go essential. They're still essential. Yeah.
I can't say evolved.
Not yet obsolete they'll always be essential. They just need to be evolved. That's all right. So they're still essential.
One word, Jeff. One word.
Sorry. That's the hard part.
That's hard for me. I don't know how anyone can do that.
The modern data tech stack, overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
It depends how you define modern, but underrated.
Okay. Biggest analytics villain, complexity or noise?
Complexity.
You guys are doing good. You agree. What marketers need more of, intuition or data?
Intuition.
I mean, I would say more accurate data. I wouldn't just say data. It's more. So it's hard because people don't need more data. They need
Jeff, we
better
got
data. But intuition, I think a marketer is a marketer because they have intuition. So I don't know that they need more of that necessarily. In my opinion, I've met a lot of marketers. I've known a lot of marketers. I've trained a lot of marketers. And I would say the intuition is typically what we come with just inherently. I would say that it's the data complexity that's kind of needs to be better.
Okay.
Sorry, it's not one word, Todd. I apologize.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I could counter to that, I think they don't need more data. They already have too much data already. Yeah. They need to trust their gut a little more. If their gut says something is going on in this area, like dig into that and figure it out. So that's just to clarify.
All right.
There's intuition over data.
Love it.
Okay, good. It's good if you two disagree every now and then. It's like me and Kelly agreed on everything all the time. We wouldn't have a company together. AI in marketing today, hype or breakthrough?
Oh gosh, I can't say both. Breakthrough.
Breakthrough.
I agree. If Fuse
I say hype.
Yes. Of course, it depends on who you're. Yeah.
Well, I know if I asked Kelly this, he'd say hype. It's 100% hype for him. Yeah.
There's a lot of sites that are saying the same thing. You have to look at the product and you have to really dive in, and then you can really see the breakthrough. But there's a lot of noise that is certainly a ton of hype, and that makes it harder for real tech like us.
It does.
So that's why we're happy to be here and talking to you guys.
If Fuse had one superpower, speed or accuracy?
We have both, but accuracy.
Accuracy. Oh my goodness.
Love it.
Speed. You know what's funny? Can I just do a little anecdote if that's okay?
You fail the rapid fire test.
I do. That's what I do. I'm sorry about that. But we've had so many user interviews even before we built our product. And then of course we ended up building the product. And then we had those same user interviews come in and start testing it. And they became our early adopters and our users and now are paying subscribers. And we always ask, how do you feel about the speed? How did you feel about the speed even before the product was made? The speed really something that matters to you? Typically, then they kind of said yes. And then as the product was being built and they kept using it and kept going in there, they started saying speed doesn't really matter. We care about the accuracy. And they keep asking them and asking them. Now the product is blazing fast and it's awesome, but people didn't really care as much about the speed. The accuracy is everything. And that's the big thing with AI and the hallucinations. And are you going to get hallucinations or not? That accuracy is key and really the key to our technology more than anything else.
Love it. Two more. If you could ban one word in marketing, dashboard or attribution?
Dashboard.
Yeah, dashboard. Attribution is necessary.
Okay.
It's just
last one.
Yeah.
What wins in the long term, simplicity or sophistication?
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Just in general, what wins long term, simplicity or sophistication? Think of Fuse, think of data, think of all of it. Think of the product. Is it simplicity or sophistication that wins long term?
I mean, I think the simplicity is the sophistication. So simplicity.
It's 100% simplicity. You're right. The simplicity is the sophistication, but it is not easy to have something being that simple looking, and our product is, and that's what makes it so sophisticated.
I would agree.
And to tack onto that, I mean, people just want something that works. They want to know that it's reliable, it's there, it understands the needs, and it delivers. And it's hard. That is hard to do.
You shouldn't have to do a masterclass to know how to use a product.
Exactly.
I would agree. All right. Well, very good. We've come a long way since the last time we spoke. Your product is radically different from the last time we spoke. Our current testing of it is what we had hoped we would find in our future. And so we're excited by it. We're going to keep being good partners to test and learn with your product. Kelly, any last commentary for AI and analytics, or Jeff and Jill, or anyone listening about AI and analytics with Jeff and Jill?
No, I mean, for me, I think all of what we've talked about is really exciting. I think, when I joked around and I said I would pick hype, I think it's exactly what Jeff said, which is the breakthrough's there. I mean, I sound jaded when I talk about AI, but I think it's because there's too much noise and too much overpromise and too much hype that's built up around it that drowns out the really great stuff that exists in it. But if you can sort through that, if you can kind of be discerning, if you can have the right reasons of what you're looking for and the right tolerance to learn how to use things the right way. It's funny because it bleeds into the other question around simplicity versus sophistication, because my answer would have been sophistication in the sense that it allows you to do better work versus cheaper and easier, and just having the right motivations to it, I think, is really important. But yeah, I'm really excited about what AI can do, and the way that Fuse is looking to use it is really exciting to me, because I think that's what does create the breakthrough, is having a purpose, having a vision for it, and trying to improve things versus just cheaper, faster, easier, flash in the pan type stuff.
Yeah.
Well said. Jill, Jeff, thank you. What do you want to tell listeners? What do they need to go do?
They need to go to our website, Fuse.is, Fuse.is, and come check us out.
Fuse is your AI data strategist. So come on, take a look. Even as you go and log in, if you'll see a little circle on the bottom right, and you can talk directly to us. And after 1 a.m., that goes directly to Jill. So please go ahead and chat directly with us. And we're here to help. And onboarding is incredibly easy, but we'd love for everybody to try it out and test it out and tell us what they like and what they don't like and how we can make it better for them.
Awesome. Well, we'll probably talk to you again in another few months and see what the next iteration looks like and the next breakthroughs with the product. So thanks for always sharing wisdom and insights around AI and analytics in your product. I think everybody needs to be in this level of exploration and testing, and Fuse is a great product. We'll put everything in the show notes, and have a wonderful holiday break. If you get one as a startup founder, you might not get one, but hope you get one.
No. Thank you. Are you guys going to CES, by the way? Oh, should I not ask that? All right. This was wrapped up.
Well, no, that's a great. Actually, we will be at CES. So if any of our listeners want to get in touch, reach out to us. We'll be there. We'll be on. And
we have a pretty major press release coming in mid-January. So we have a lot of news coming. So
awesome.
Thank you for this, guys.
Thanks for listening to Contrary to Popular Opinion, where we challenge you to think independently, push the limits, and take uncommon action so you can achieve game-changing results in your business and your life. To stay up to date with our latest episodes, be sure to click the follow or subscribe button now. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.